Welcome back to another episode of the Resellers Mindset Podcast. My name is Mike, also known as the Used Book Guy on YouTube, along with my friend and fellow full-time reseller, Johnny B. We help people start and grow their reselling businesses from the ground up. We also have a weekly Zoom call and private Discord for all YouTube members. Head on over to youtube.com/usedbookguy to join the channel and gain access to the full-length podcast, Zoom call, and private Discord today. Let's get into this week's episode.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 18, 10 from me, 8 from JB. Yes, we're almost at the point where we need to hire extra hands to throw up our episode number at the beginning. Today's episode is another one of our kind of fun ones where we ask listeners, viewers on YouTube some topics or questions they have. And we are basically just going to address every single one that was dropped over on the YouTube channel. I think we have 9 of them. So this is going to be pretty exciting. There's some pretty in-depth questions, some simple ones as well, but we're gonna every single one we're gonna address. So we're kind of gonna jump into it. Restock limits did go up this week, which is good. I can finally send in an FBA shipment. It's only been 5 months for me, so it seems like they kind of went up across the board a little bit. Did they go up for you, JB?
No, but I'm under the threshold now, so I'm just not that under the threshold to sit in a box.
Yeah, mine jumped up like 300, so I can send in like 100 and something now. So that's good at least. It seems like quite a few people got an increase, so it seems like they're kind of taking the pressure off of those. But let's jump into these. This is it's going to be fun. So first up, we have all right, I'm just going to read this as it is. So I didn't do like any prep on these, right? So I'm just reading from a teleprompter basically. How things were for you both before you hit the inflection point, e.g., funds started to get low before profits really started to roll in, you were losing motivation, etc. Another topic, let's address that first because this is like he's got a few of them rolled in here.
Question, all right.
I believe this is Paul from the Discord. He was an everything seller previously and he wanted to kind of niche down. So
Sure.
The inflection point, how things were for you before you started making profits.
Cool. I don't know. I mean, when you first start, you go days or weeks or a couple weeks without getting that first sale. Like I remember the limit on eBay, you had to get 10 in there and you had to wait a while and sell something before you could call in or request upgrade. I would say it was probably month 2 before I started seeing, all right, this money's starting to roll in. Because before then I was learning how to list. I was doing it wrong, and trying to list as many as I could. And back then it was a piddly number, like 10 a day or 5 a day or something silly like that. And that was after that whole time period of where I could only list 10 items at a time. So for that 10 items at a time off the gate, I mean, I didn't get a sale for weeks. I remember that. And then I got one. I was so excited. Wow. Now that excitement is long gone.
I guess it's a little bit different for him versus us, right? Because he was already doing eBay as an everything seller. So he had a business kind of established. Yeah. So he basically had to say, I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing and try to switch it over in a timely manner where you can get your income back to the level it was at when you were selling everything, even though you weren't happy. It was a little bit different for me because when I started, I was still working full time at my job. So I still had an income and I kind of built it up on the side. So like the profits really never were like an initial focus for me because I didn't need the money. It wasn't something where, I quit CVS right away and now I'm trying to ramp up immediately. It's kind of like almost what he's trying to do. I'm sure he has some cash reserves, but it's one of those things where, it takes time and you do lose motivation. It happens. I mean, that's probably like a monthly thing for every reseller. You're going to have, days where you're just not motivated or you're not getting the results. Like I just listed 20 things on eBay and none of them sold the past 3 days. Like you start second guessing everything. But I think it's just reselling's a long-term game and it's about, relationships and just building a whole standard operating procedure for how things work easy for you and how you can maximize the profit. So I think a lot of people get caught up kind of, in the short-term sale of things, or, this month was slow, this quarter was slow. Start thinking ahead of how next quarter is going to be better, different things you're doing to kind of change the algorithm in your favor to, see the results you want to see. But yeah, it's weird. It when I first started, I would buy things and they wouldn't sell, and especially as an everything seller, because you're buying everything. I mean, it can be overwhelming. And when you switch, you just got to, kind of block out the noise and just focus on what you're doing. And the more you're focused, the more time you put in, your results are going to come, especially, switching over to Amazon like he is.
Now, I do recall fondly, and by fondly I mean not at all. I didn't know how to do photo transfers right, so I get up at 5 a.m., do my photos, and then I was still doing a large number of photos per product back then. These were different products. But I remember I didn't know how to transfer right, so I would email myself 5 photos at a time. It took three emails per product that I listed, and I had to wait like 15 minutes per email. I don't know why, but it sucked so much because it would take me like half an hour to do one listing, just waiting on the photos alone, and then plus the listing itself. I do not miss those days.
Yeah, I think another thing you kind of can do where profits are kind of, tough in the beginning, especially because I know he's doing some bulk buys and everything, and he's getting a lot of quantity, is just start flipping that stuff local. Throw it up on Facebook, your duds up on Facebook, get that 20, 40, 80, $100 and use that to buy inventory for your business. So you're not always, dipping into your bank account, kind of like what I do with eBay. My eBay money gets turned into, Amazon money. You're basically just money laundering to get it where you want it to be at the end of the line. But yeah, cash flow, you don't want to go out and really with media, what he's doing, our buy cost shouldn't be that much. So you kind of can get away, but he is in a more expensive part of the country. So, but there's ways, and he's doing what he's got to do. It just takes time with anything, right? Amazon's not get rich quick. Unfortunately, as many people make it out to seem, it's going to take a few months for it to grow.
I am planning on doing a outside my shop book sale for like these are probably not even going to sell on eBay books, and see what shakes there. So that'd be kind of fun. I did one of those really early on when I overbought, and this was still when I was housing stuff in the garage and my room and every which way I could tuck books. So I was like, I gotta get rid of these somehow, some way. And I'm pretty sure I sold some valuable things back then for really cheap, but I didn't care. I had so many books, so many. I have more books now, but I have the space for it now, so it's a different story. But back then, I was like, I'm out of room. I got to get rid of some of these books somehow, some way.
All right. The second part of his question is, how has reselling affected your family and friend relationships? You want to go first?
Friends. No, I mean, for me, not on the friend side, not so much, as most of my friends work colleagues, to be honest. And we still chit chat every now and then. They tell me about their business, I tell them about mine, how things are going. As far as family goes, I mean, sometimes my pops will come over just to hang out in the shop, and we yell at each other because that's our relationship. We like yelling at each other. It's how we communicate. And you should do it this way. No, you're stupid. Go away, old man. Um, but no, I think it's for the better, honestly, because when I was doing my other jobs before, I work all the time now, but I worked all the time then. Here, I could take a break to let's go for Sunday lunch, or hey, let's meet up later in the week for like an hour somewhere near a place I'm sourcing. So I think it improved mine, honestly, because before I was doing 120, 140 hours a week, but I was glued to the computer and couldn't get away, stuck in meetings. And
Do you have a big family, like a big immediate family?
no, I don't. It's very small, actually. I mean, I got 2 brothers, I got a sister, I got my pops and my moms, and that's about the only people I really socialize with my family. I have other family members, but we don't really talk per se. We,
Are you,
we may see each other every 5 years for some family function. But that's about it.
are you the only one that has like a non-traditional job, like out of your brothers and sisters?
No, my sister is an artist. And this may sound funny to other people, but it's not really funny. She has narcolepsy. So this is she can't hold her regular job. So her artwork is the only thing that can sustain her as far as something long term, and that's hers. My brother was a chicken farmer for about 25 years. That was a non-traditional job. He did the farm life. My other brother worked for Clorox for like 15 years. He works for some other person like that. Basically, he was the guy in charge of fixing the really complicated machine when it broke.
So they don't think you're crazy for having a warehouse full of books.
No, not at all, because they're also crazy in their own different ways.
Instead, this guy's
Except my
chasing
one
me.
brother, except the responsible brother who worked for Clorox.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. Whenever he meets somebody, like, yeah, I got a crazy family, you know, a narcoleptic artist. We got some guy that lives in a warehouse, some guy chasing chickens around. I mean,
It's all normal. What is normal these days, right?
so
Yeah.
I guess it's a little different for me because most of my family, you know, you're traditional, you have a job, you stay with it, you know, that's it. You know, you can get a job, it turns into a career and that's it. So like it does I kind of like I say it all the time every once in a while in the video like my family basically thinks like I'm unemployed, right? I do nothing all day. I'm a reseller. Like, oh, yeah. What do you mean you sell stuff on eBay and Amazon? I'm like, well, in actuality, I'm making more money than you, but that's not a conversation we're ready to have, clearly. So, family and friends
I will
though.
say this, they don't understand the e-commerce side at all. They get that I'm a bookseller, and I've tried to explain to them all the finer points to that, but it's beyond them because all of them are not technology savvy like myself. I'm the only one out of the group that really is. So I'm the one that gets the call when they need their phone set up or their computers down, how to fix it kind of person. All they know is I sell books and I have a lot of them. That's all they can comprehend. They don't understand anything else how it works, even though I've attempted.
It's it can take its toll though, for sure. And if you have a really close-knit family and a lot of them are like, you know, career oriented people, it can, you know, you kind of I can see people kind of throwing shade and looking down on reselling because it's like people don't understand how the business works. I mean, and I think we have to almost change, you know, when you go talk to somebody and they're like, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" Well, I'm a reseller, or, you know, I sell on eBay. Like, I guess the word you should be using is like, "Oh, e-commerce, right? I'm in
That's
e-commerce."
exactly what I do. I don't say I'm a bookseller. I don't say I'm a reseller. I say I do e-commerce online.
There
And
you
they don't
go.
ask any questions after that because they don't
Yeah.
understand e-commerce. They don't want to know e-commerce.
You got to kind of dress it up a little bit
Yeah.
because just saying you're a reseller, you know, basically a scalper, like people are just like, you get that
It
immediate,
sounds
like,
shady when you say it like that. It really does to a commoner.
yeah. And it just sounds like, I don't, it just sounds like a crappy job, right? Oh, I'm a reseller. Well, what are you reselling? You know, like it
It
could be
sounds like I
anything.
set up a booth at the farmer's market and ring a bell. Come buy my books. No, it's
Yeah.
not at all.
So I think the way you get around that, even if you already have like identified yourself as a reseller, like with your family and friends, you kind of can be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm doing e-commerce now, right? You just they don't know nothing, right? What they don't know can't hurt them. So you just
Right.
dress yourself up a little bit. And I think reselling's a bad term anyway, because it's really, you know, just kind of rolls everything into one ball and just it's just I don't know. I don't like the term reseller as like your profession.
Now, the other term I've used is online retailer.
There
That's a
you
little
go.
that you can grasp that a little bit more. But then you
But
get questions if you use it like that. Oh, what do you retail? Books. Oh, what? You make money with books? And then spirals from there.
you also have to accept the fact that some people are just not ever going to understand it and not ever going to want to be a part of it, right? Because, you know, I could take any one of my friends or family members and, you know, get them making six figures a year on Amazon.
Sure.
They're not interested. They don't care. Like they don't care. They could be working a minimum wage job. They don't want to hear it. It's whatever. So you have to accept the fact that, you know, sometimes there's just some people, family or friends that you can't win over, and that's all right. You know, you don't gotta, at the end of the day, you should just be, you know, focused on what you have going on, your immediate family, and everything else will fall into place.
Right. I think people are just naturally opposed to the unknown. And when we talk about this to somebody who's never even watched a YouTube video on it, they have no idea of it. It's completely foreign. And they don't want to know because the unknown is not necessarily scary. It's just they're preoccupied with whatever they're into, and what we're into you're either into it or not, honestly. And if you're not, or you have no inkling to be or want to know anything, it's different. You just can't.
All right, moving on to the last final part of his questionnaire he gave us.
Person? Oh wow.
And it's still Paul. If selling used media became impossible, what might you pivot to?
I think we talked about this a little bit before. I would probably go some kind of electronics, I guess, or toys. But I said I wouldn't do toys because I know you would like to do toys. So I'll stick to my electronics answer.
I'm going toys all the way. There's so many toys. I see them all the time for so cheap. It would almost kind of be the same thing where you have to list quantity. Like a lot of the littles, the smalls, one-offs. I think you could. I think I thought about this all the time. You could literally just have a business where you go buy board games and part out the board games.
Right, or the accessories for all the action figures, right? You can make a full-time business with that. And way earlier on, I was planning on doing toys. Like when I joined the Daily Refinement Group, they have a toy call. I was attending those. I was really excited. But I was still doing media, and I was like, I can't. There's no time to do it, unfortunately.
Yeah, toys do take a little bit of kind of more of a knowledge base, I would say, because you got to know the brands, got to know I got stuck looking at those bubble guppies for 30 minutes in the thrift store because I had no idea it was bubble guppies, right? If you know toys, you're gonna walk in, you're gonna know that right away. So it
Right.
does take more knowledge, but I would 100% switch to toys, use toys, new toys. Probably, I would even incorporate the board games because I mean, I guess they're kind of considered toys. I would 100%, do the board games as well, piece them out and it wouldn't take up a lot of space. I wouldn't get into big toys. I mean, I'm not talking, huge Fisher Price sets, but
Or like the air carrier craft, the 6-inch GI Joes had the
yeah,
two coffee tables.
yeah, I would kind of stick with, just the small stuff in the toy category. So you can have, a storage unit and you could have thousands of items listed and kind of roll with that. It's tough though because, shipping keeps going up, first class keeps going up, so kind of
Right.
keeps eating
For me,
into
I
it.
would stick with I wouldn't do new electronics. I would do vintage electronics, like the fancier like boom boxes and stuff. Those are really cool. And they go for good money, like several $1,000s. But finding them, getting the right parts for them, fixing it up, and then shipping them, hoping it arrives not damaged. There's just all kinds of failings that come with that, and your full-time customer support for that old electronic after that, unfortunately, or some of the old Apple computers. I think it'd be a lot of fun, but it'd be a lot more work than what I do now. It'd be, well, I wouldn't say more work. It'd be a different type of work, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you could even go the route of vintage electronics and just parts, right? Everything you
Yeah.
get, you part out.
Or like those bulbs in the old radios. Those are so cool when you look at them.
Yeah, there's so many different things you can do. I just enjoy media. The ROI is good. You can, it's not cash intensive, right? You can have, six-figure media business and spend, under $15,000 a year easily. So it's not cash intensive and you can grow it to a point where it's kind of, everything runs smoothly. There's no headaches. You're not testing nothing. You're just, it's easy peasy. But yeah, toys for me, old electronics for you. So I'm going to start saving all the old boom boxes I see.
And radios and vacuum cleaners.
All right, we are moving on. Next up, we have Sigil, also a YouTube member
I haven't
here.
seen him in a while. I like him. Central, come back to the calls on
He,
Sunday.
dude, he's busy. He got, 14,000 CDs he's got to scan through. We ain't going to see him for like 10 years.
He'll do it in like a weekend.
He will because he's in the music. So he says best methods to scan through a lot of media items with no barcodes.
Oh,
Amazon
no.
Seller Photo Scanner seems to be the most accurate photo recognition, but it is very time consuming to go one by one, while also having to go through the current offers of each item, scan to see if it is profitable.
I mean, I have a traditional answer. Hire a minimum wage employee and have him sit his butt down for 14 hours for 7.25 an hour.
I know exactly why he wrote this up because he's got all those CDs that
Exactly.
have all those like specialty barcodes that don't scan.
They don't scan. The best way to do that.
It's cover scan.
Disregard my funny answer. It's not really funny. I understand, but
It's
you go
it's
ahead while I think about this.
It's cover scan. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Separate it. So here's how you got to attack it. You need a pile of barcodes, pile of cover scans, you're not scanning anything right away. We're separating, right? So we're going to say we're going to load up this table, stacks of barcodes up, stacks of cover scans. Then you're going to knock out the barcodes first, get rid of those. Then you're going to do the cover scan. So the trick with this is it's time consuming to go one by one. Amazon actually is pretty good with the cover scans for CDs. And the current offer thing, that's just something you have to say, okay, well, if you see on that homepage the lowest offer, right? Because it shows you the lowest offer. If you see that number is, $10, $9, $7, you're not taking it. It's going into the second and Charles pile. So you shouldn't be clicking through any offers. Take a few CDs, put them in the revenue calculator, see where you want to be with your profits. And then when you see, hey, if it's under, $7, then it's in the dud pile. If it's under $8, it's in the dud pile. So all you have to do is scan that initial one and get to that main page of the CD offer. And then you kind of can make that decision right then and there. Keep going. That's what I do. I don't click through on any offers. Sure, the problem is, well, Mike, what if Johnny B's the lowest offer at $5 and the next one's up $20? Well, guess what? The time you're going to save, especially when you have 14,000 CDs to scan, it ain't going to, the extra 10, 20, 30, $40 you're going to miss ain't going to be worth the extra time of clicking through that 10,000 times. I promise you that. So just kind of see what your minimum is for your offers, get it to that homepage. Cover scan is super quick, but you got to have the plan, right? You got to have everything separated. When you're cover scanning, you're just cover scanning. You're not going cover scan, UPC. So UPC, cover scan. Like you got to kind of have a method to it, and just get that number, and then you kind of can it'll be just almost as quick as barcode scanning, honestly.
I mean, it's funny you say that because I do the same thing with books. I have my ISBNs, my barcodes, and books I got to open up, right? I'm talking from a bulk buy perspective. I'm haul them in. How am I going to do this, right? I don't go barcode, ISBN, crack book open. No, I sort them into piles. And then I honestly start with the suckiest pile first, which is crack the book open. Because I've tried it the other way where I go from hard to easy, or I'm sorry, easy to hard, and it sucks way more. For whatever reason, maybe it's a mind thing. I go from hard to easy because I get excited by the end because it's going quicker, right? But as far as your particular thing goes, no, I agree with what Mike said. And the ones that don't cover scan, I'm gonna say you're gonna throw away some money, sure, but there's gonna be way more duds with those manual lookups and then taking the ASIN and trying to plug it in your phone to green or red, right? I've done that. It's not worth it. And I'm sure you're gonna, like I said, I'm sure you're gonna throw away a few dollars, but your time that you're gonna put in, you could have made so much more money. It's not worth it.
Yeah, especially with him because he's got a second in Charles, so he shouldn't even be second guessing it. He should literally just say, you know what, I'll go get my, 20 cents back per CD and wash my hands of it.
Right. If you don't have a second in Charles, for those listening, you can lot them up by genre, the best you can tell, or just do a generic CD lot. Hey, here's 100 CDs. Either do an auction or a buy it now kind of thing on eBay or Facebook Marketplace. Try to resell your resell.
Oh man, this next one is the story of my life so far this year. We have from Three Lanterns Garden, merchant fulfilled versus FBA. With newer fees and storage fluctuations, is merchant fulfilled the way of the future for used books? This guy or girl wants the answer to the universe here when it comes to selling media on Amazon. And
our answers are going to be completely different. You go ahead, Mike.
I 100% think that merchant fulfilled needs to play at least, if you're doing this full time, minimum 50% of your business. It has to almost be a 50-50 split between merchant fulfilled and FBA, because I do believe that Amazon, it's not that they don't want booksellers, because they want sellers of every kind, but the way they are skewing their metrics and restock limits and removal fees, it is making it next to impossible to be profitable selling used books, used media, if it's selling for under $12 on Amazon anymore. So the way of the future, I would say, is, as crazy as it sounds, for me, it's probably going to be closer to 80% merchant fulfilled, 20% FBA. It's just the way it is. Amazon wants fast moving stuff in their warehouses. We can't afford to pay $2 and change to have a book removed, right? Because think about that. Last year I had close to 1,000 books removed. at $2.50, that's an extra $2,500 out of my business. So you can't settle with selling 80% and, getting rid of 20% anymore. That doesn't work. So I do think that merchant fulfilled is the way of the future for used media in general, not just books.
Now, I'm going to preface this with I agree with everything this fine gentleman over here just said. However, I tried to go bulk volume with Merchant Fulfilled once we got all these announcements from glorious Amazon. And what I found is after 4,000 Merchant Fulfilled listings, and to clarify what I was doing, anything with an e-score of 1 or higher went to Merchant Fulfilled that was not green for FBA. Out of those 4,000 listings, and again, they range from an e-score of 1 to 151, right? I have sold a total of 8 over 3 weeks. Now, what percentage is that, you may ask? That's around 0.02%. So, you got to do FBM a little smarter. You can't volume it, is my call on that. Because I tried it. It did not work. And it was a lot of fun listing all those things, let me tell you. However, I'm still playing with the idea of maybe I do put them on FBM while I'm waiting to list them on eBay. Unlist them from FBM and sell off a few so I have less to list, right? Still liquidating my inventory to some degree. I may or may not do that. I haven't decided fully on that yet. But everything he just said, you got to do FBM smart, just like you do FBA smart. You can't volume it, in my opinion. Well, you can, but you're going to need a gigantic warehouse to get those daily sales, because that's what I was trying to do with it. How do I get an FBM sell every single day? And the answer is to what he said and what he's been telling the group. Honestly, you can't do it in volume, in my opinion.
I think quality over quantity is the new way forward for media sellers. It's not, you just send in a million things and 900,000 of them are going to sell. I think it's kind of been flipped on its head here. And it was, kind of even before the whole new rollout of the fees and everything, it kind of seen Amazon was trending towards that, right? Last year they went down to 9 months long-term storage. This year it'll be 6 months. Soon enough it'll be 3 months. So I think you can continue to do FBA, right? But I would challenge you, you get in a situation where I was last year, where you have 4,000 books in inventory and restock limits hit, and your business goes away for 5 months.
Yeah.
So do you want to keep changing your business model every single, season? Basically, no, you don't. I don't want to do that. So you got to kind of get smarter with it. But merchant fulfilled, I think, is the way the way forward for those that are doing this full time and kind of want to continue to do this. Unfortunately, but if you're doing it part time, you should have enough space FBA that it makes sense. You just got to be getting better quality stuff, not just $3-4 profit. We're talking $10+.
Agreed.
All right.
Yeah.
Here we go. This one's kind of directed at me, so you're gonna have to kind of figure out a way to wiggle your one into this one, or maybe how you got the free book deal with the library. How or who do you ask for that?
I got my own free deals. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So how I got the free book deal with the library. It was through my Craigslist ad that I make everybody post, because if you're going to do this, you should be buying in bulk some way, shape, or form. They responded to the ad that I pay for books. I pay by the pound. I pay, 15 cents a pound. So you would think, well, Mike, why did they give them to you for free? Well, a lot of people don't want to deal with books. They're heavy, they're cumbersome, they take up a lot of space. So they didn't even care whether I paid them or not. They just said, hey, can you be our, book guy? Because previously they had to take all their books, all the volunteers. Most people that volunteer at the library, usually older, just to stay active, be involved in the community. They had to load up their personal vehicles, take all the donations that the library couldn't use to a thrift store and unload them themselves. So it's crazy to think that that was even a thing before I came along, but that's how it was. They, the volunteers had to load up, cars full of books, take them to the thrift stores and donate them. So for me, it was just having the line out there, right? I always say have as many fishing lines out there, sooner or later you're going to get a bite. That's how I got it. So if I was going to so now let's approach the second part of this. How or who do you ask for that? Now you can't walk in. I can't walk in and, Johnny B's library and say, yo, what are you doing with your donations? I can be that guy. That's not going to work. You have to build some kind of a relationship with these people. Go in. Most libraries have like a section where they sell books or free books. Talk to people, kind of get to know the people. Then you kind of can go in and shoot your shot, right? You don't want to do it the first day you meet somebody like, hey, Johnny B, nice to meet you. By the way, you're doing a podcast later today, whether you like it or not. Like, first impressions, they do mean a lot, but you can't go all in on your first impression when it comes to things like this, at least in my opinion. You got to kind of, wiggle your way in there, right? Kind of infiltrate and work your way, from the,
first. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and a few people in the group that also, are in the libraries. It's the same way. They go in, they talk to the people working there, buy some books, go in there, show your face once a week. And then after a while, they'll say, hey, what are you doing? And that's where you say, hey, I'm a small business. I run my own online media store. That's why you always see me in here buying the books and the CDs and DVDs. And then soon enough, once one of those people asks you that, where they're going to say, hey, we got a whole back room of stuff. We only put out a little bit, at a time. And then boom, you're in from there. That's all you got to do. It's all about relationship building, and not, you can't just walk into these places and just be like, hey, can I get in the back room? They're going to say, who are you? Get out of here. Like, security.
Well, since I wasn't specifically asked, I'm going to inflict on one of mine. So my pops is a very religious man, and he goes to church, and they in the senior they group him off by age blocks for those that don't know, and he's on the death row one, or that's what I like to call it, because that's the last age bracket. But there's only one other place to go after that Sunday school class. Anyway, within that group, there's the guy who runs the community center for our town, pretty much, and they have a very small book library that all the seniors do their books. However, they rotate their inventory, and they were having to do what you said, take them to thrift stores and stuff, and they didn't want to do that. And my pops talked to them, hey, he sells books, why don't you give him a call? And they ended up being free after that. But it's so funny. I've offered to pack them up so many times, and they refuse. They put them in these tiny boxes, which are like senior weight boxes, right? They're little tiny. There's maybe like 10 or 15 books in there. But they stack them in these giant cubes like a Gaylord full of these tiny boxes. And I just go in there. Books are so light. They're great, right? I love picking up these boxes. And I put them on my cart, stack them up. They stack nicely too. But yeah, they pre-pack the boxes for me when they give me a call like once every 3 months when they're trying to get more inventory in and get the old inventory out. Essentially, I call it inventory, but it's just they're rotating books because they like to read. Seniors are readers. Hey, maybe.
Yeah, so it's relationship based with libraries, 100%. Now, the next one is kind of hits right on top of that. We got Miss Lachey resells. She's a YouTuber. Go check her out. She sells a lot of media on eBay. How to approach businesses for backroom access. Now, it's a different beast than libraries. Businesses, right? It's about money, the bottom line. That's how you get backroom access at businesses. It's not even like really backroom access, because I don't think anybody's really going to let you cherry pick their back room anymore. I think when you walk into a business and you have something set up, it's, hey, I'll take everything you got kind of deal, versus you being able to go in and kind of pick through what they have in the back that they haven't put out. Give me your thoughts on this one.
No, absolutely. I've done this, and I still do this. It's a take it all scenario or take none of it. However, I do agree that you don't have to, but I recommend that you kind of buy a few things there first before you make that initial approach.
Yeah.
You should, on those initial feeling you out kind of buys, I would always talk to the manager, ask the manager on duty. Just ask them, don't even approach that question, save it. Just ask them for general things like, hey, when do you get new books in? Hey, when do you, because then they're building in their mind that you want books a lot. And try kind of work it that way. You could walk in there, and I've done this too, and it has worked. Like, how much for all of it? I'll take it all right here, right now. And I'll take what you got in the back too, plus what you got in the floor. Take it all today. What's your number? I have done that where I've been really more aggressive. But again, on some of those, I watched and observed the manager. And I hate to say it, some people are pushovers. And on those pushovers, I make the big play right then and there because they'll fold like a leaf, honestly. But that's a judgment call. And I'm hyper aggressive and I'm very extroverted. So I don't mind doing that. For you more people that are a little bit more reserved, you may want to do it the first way I said. Just ask a couple initial questions and then approach it that way. But I don't mind walking in there like Billy Badass and doing what I just said either.
That's pretty smart. You kind of, you basically insinuate that you want to be in the back room without saying it, right? Hey, when you guys, put out your books, is it weekly? Do you have a specific book person, like CDs, DVDs, or whatever you're doing? And you kind of, you don't say, hey, you want it. You're not saying directly, hey, can I go in the back room? But you're saying, hey, I'm interested a lot in your media. Show up a few weeks, talk to, if it's the same manager, then maybe you can, say, hey, you have anything in the back room that you haven't put out yet? And that's another way you can do it, right? You have anything in the back you haven't put out yet? Like you're not really saying you want to be in the back scanning everything. You don't care. You're just like, yeah, we got a lot. I'll bring it out. That's fine. It's basically the same as backroom access.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit different, I think, for businesses to library because the businesses, they're about making money if they want to keep their doors open. So you do have leverage when it comes to just walking in and just being like, hey, I have a media business and, I see you got a whole bookcase of DVDs. If I buy every single one at 10 cents a piece, is that fine? And then, you really ain't got nothing to lose. It is one of those things though, for sure. Like going in and just saying that is like, takes a little bit of, guts to do it. And not a lot of people are kind of into that thing. So the relationship way is the way to go and just kind of chatting up, when you get new stuff, how often you put out new items, things like that. That'll probably be the more efficient route that most people would go versus going in, and just saying you want everything.
Now, here are a couple tips for you guys. You may or may not know them, but here, take them anyway. Who speaks the first number automatically lost that negotiation. So you want them to speak the first number. Like, how much will you take for, I don't know. Stare at them. They'll give you a number eventually. Another thing to do is ask before you even get to the buy question, when you is ask, well, how many books do you think you sell a week? Ask these kind of questions. That way, when they give you the high number, you can, well, honestly, throw it back in their face. Well, you said you only sell like 10 books a week. Are you sure that's as low as you will go? So you want to have some leverage built up before you get to the negotiating table. That's how you do it.
Yeah, most people, most of these places aren't selling books like that frequently, at least in my observations in the years I've been doing this. You never walk into a place and they're like, oh, somebody just bought all the books. You always see the same, same book sitting there on that shelf that's been there for months. So you definitely have leverage when it comes to media because a lot of it's slower moving items and it's a cumbersome and it takes up a lot of space on the sales floor. So you can leverage that as well.
Right. Even to what you said, how often do you put out books? If they say we never have to put out books because they move slow, well, that's a lot of leverage right there.
Yeah, I don't even want them then. I'm leaving. All right, so moving on here, we have another member, Thomas here. Lost my tab here, says how to get to 100K in sales, what it looks like, realistic expectations, the numbers and systems you need to reach. This is a loaded question. I basically did 100K last year between Amazon, eBay, all my media stuff. So I kind of can give you a quick breakdown of my last year numbers. I sold right around 4,200 items total across the platforms. Now that was, that's a lot of volume, and that's a lot of work. That's a lot of thrifting, a lot of prepping, a lot of shipping, a lot of everything. But that was the business model where I was taking, $5 profit books and sending them in. So it's kind of a little bit different now for me. But last year, it's kind of what you're looking at, 4,000 sales, give or take some. Average sales price of right around like $16-17. And you literally just have to keep going. Like you can't slow down. You always got to have your foot on the gas because you're doing volume. Now I'm kind of looking for higher profit items. So it's a little bit different here. I won't have to do nowhere near as much volume, because the items I'm selling are selling for a higher, average sales price, close to double what it was last year. So I would have to sell half of that. But you're looking at minimum, 2,000 probably sales. If you're going to do media, minimum on the high end, 2,000 sales in a year, I think is kind of just me. Like I'm not, there's no prep for this, right? I'm just kind of spitballing what's on my mind here. 2,000 sales, and you're going to have a really nice average sales price. And I don't know, that's kind of like the Amazon, eBay side for me. I wasn't nowhere near investing as much in eBay last year. So that's my take on it. What do you think?
I'm gonna give the eBay answer. Not gonna make a lot of people happy. 30 a day for 6.5 years if you're strictly doing books. You can make that time frame different, and your ASP has to be between $12 and $18, by the way. Roughly, that's 60,000 listed items active. You can make that quicker by doing 50 a day. You can shave some time off. You can also make that quicker by figuring out how to master your volume and sales with like their coupons and their other marketing. Multi-quantity buys is the key. So as you get closer, eBay compounds. That's the secret to eBay. It compounds with your consistency. So you can do that. Again, you can increase the amount of listings you do, sure, or you can figure out how to get multi-quantity buys. It's both roads lead to the same end result. You figure out how to do both. Well, you can make that in, depends how hard you push it. You can do it in 1 year, you can do it in 2 years, but I could say to do the least amount of work, be 30 a day for 6.5 years every day. Is how you would do that. And you're going to make more than 100K because, like I said, eBay compounds. So you don't just stop after 6.5 years. So that 100K year one, or that first year you make it, will probably end up being 125, 150 the second year. And it'll just continue to grow up from there. Eventually, you're going to reach a point where you're selling more than you list, and then you have a choice at that point to either maintain the amount you're listing or to increase it to continue that compounding, because you're going to reach that critical mass point at some point.
Yeah, I think one thing here is, I think it's much more feasible to do 100K on Amazon versus eBay. You would agree, correct?
I agree 100%. It'd be much faster to do it that way.
And I think the number you can max out as a one-person operation is a lot higher on Amazon than eBay as well.
Maybe. I mean, Amazon kind of shuts down 4 or 5 months out of the year, and eBay never shuts down. And again, I think it'd be the amount you can put out on eBay, and then on Amazon, it's be the quality, like you mentioned, sending in the quality things to reach that number. If you're sending in $1 profit items, can do it, but that's a grind, man. I mean, eBay is its own grind. It's a different kind of grind, sure. But I think the easiest way to earn 100K between the two is definitely Amazon, I would say.
But you definitely can have 100K media business on eBay, Amazon, one, not the other, one, not the other. It works both ways. You just have to refine your process. I'll be willing to say here we're going to have a few of us that are going to cross 100K this year in the Discord. Just the way
Right.
people have been rocking and rolling already, and that's going to be a huge jump from their numbers from last year. So it's definitely possible. You just have to put in the time, and you got to find the stuff, right? Because you can put in the time, but if you're not finding stuff, it doesn't matter because you're just wasting your time.
Right. And for me, I hired employees to list 100. Collectively, we're going to launch 100 active listings a day. So that speeds up my track to get to where I want. And again, it compounds after that date a year or two later. So there's ways you could do it more efficiently, like higher e-scores, higher profit books like in Amazon world, or more listings on eBay, or more multi-buys on eBay. And now here's the fun part. If you can do both, 100K on both or 50K on each one, you made your 100K.
Yeah, I mean, it's all money, right? It doesn't matter how you make it. It's whatever works. And it's whatever you have in your area, right? If you have a bunch of antique books, then, eBay has to be the play. But that's perfectly fine because you can have a whole business built around that alone.
Right. And that's kind of like me. Well, I'm not antique. I say I'm more vintage than antique is what my business. But I
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yours is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not strictly antique. I'm more in that vintage period.
The vintage stuff is trash to me. I'm either antique or barcode. Anything in between, get it out of here.
Yeah, just mail it to me, Mike. It's cool.
All right, so that was kind of a loaded question. I mean, and whatever you're dealing with, Thomas, like if you feel like you're kind of, at a choke point and you can't grow anymore, just hit me up. We'll figure something out that works best for you. All right, now we have our last group of questions from Josh. Josh is also a YouTuber. He sells everything on eBay. He is pretty heavily into media though. Josh Graff over on YouTube, check him out. Getting ungraded in McGraw-Hill, is it trouble or easy? I have $250 in books. I need to decide what to do with published by them. So I reached out to Brian. Brian's a member of the Discord. He got ungraded like cheese. He got ungated in McGraw-Hill through Christian Book. So I pulled it up here. Now you're going to have to find one you're actually gated in, but the cheapest one they have currently is $6.32 a piece. You buy 10 of them, it puts you at $63. Shipping probably puts you to $70. So if this was, one you were gated in from McGraw-Hill, it's going to get you ungated for your $250. The $70 would be a good investment. So you can use Christian Books just to find a McGraw-Hill you're gated in. That's what he did. It worked for him, others in the group as well, but he kind of was the guinea pig that jumped in to do it. So yeah, just use Christian Book, wait for a good sale, and definitely do it because you're always going to come across McGraw-Hill textbooks and they're probably going to be valuable. So sooner or later, you're going to want to get ungated. And if you can do it for under $100, I'd say it'd definitely be worth it. And you already have $250 sitting there. So that's how I would go about that one. That's kind of like, I don't know what you want to add to that because there's really nothing to add, sucker.
I mean, you're right. And for me, I just sling them on eBay instead of bother being ungated, but each their own.
Buy back your books is this next one. Profitable or waste of time? So buyback companies overall. What's your take on these? Is your take going to be different than mine because you got a warehouse and you kind of just list anything
I
and
run my own
everything?
buyback program. It's called eBay. No, that's my real answer on that. But if I didn't do eBay and I was just an Amazon seller, looking at it from that perspective, I would say, and I still did bulk, just to clarify, I would say it can recoup you some money. And I didn't have a second in Charles or a place that would buy books from me. And I didn't want to bother with Facebook. I'd say you could recoup some money with these buyback programs. But overall, you're going to lose out because everything else is better than these buyback programs. eBay, Facebook, garage sale. You're just going to get more money out of it. However, if you just want it out of your life because you just have no other option or you're out of time, time's a real factor too. If you just don't have time to do the other things, I would say, sure, use it.
Okay, I got a question for you. Would
Okay.
you take 20 cents from a buyback company today or take $1 in 3 weeks if you sold it yourself?
20 cents versus $1. I take $1.
There you go. So me and him are we think opposite when it comes to this. I don't want to see it, right? I don't want no parts of it. I see it once, I want it out of my life.
But I'm gonna give my $1.
see, he's still hung up on it 3 weeks from now. He's gonna be asking for his dollar and I ain't got it. It's
$1, Mike.
I think it's what you want to do, right? And I know you sell everything on eBay over there, so it's kind of like if books interest you and it's something you kind of excites you a little bit when you're listing. I know you have tons of eBay listings. You got he does have an antique booth. Now, I'm not sure what he's played with when it comes to that, but that could be another way where, instead of getting your 20 cents, you just sell all your books for $1. Things like that. So he does have a little bit more factors at play, but I really think it comes down to what you want your business to look like, right? Are you fine selling a lot of low profit stuff, but that comes with a lot of things. You got to be cheaper with, just poly bags. You're not going to use bubble mailers for an $8 book. That wouldn't make sense. So it really comes down to what you want your business to look like. Buy back your books 100%. Those buyback companies do work great for a lot of people in the group. A lot of people have, their sell back your books box in their sourcing room and they fill it up after you get over 750. It's free shipping, things like that. So they do have a place. A lot of people use a lot of the different services. There's so many of them now, right? It's kind of like Amazon software. It's like there probably used to only be like one guy, the clutter, just one guy in his basement somewhere. And now there's like 50 different buyback companies.
So I'll give a little scenario to justify not really defend my point because I don't really need to defend it. It is everybody's business is different.
Dude, your business sucks.
My business is glorious.
Your business is dead.
My business takes 3 weeks longer.
Yeah.
But no, like I think I mentioned it before about my ranch romances, right? That I listed back in May. Now everybody and their brother would have told me just put those things in a lot and for $300-400 and sure. But I ended up selling mine for more than 4 times that amount because I did not do that. But I had to wait way longer to get that. And this justifies Mike's question. He asked me 20 cents today or $1 tomorrow or $1 in 3 weeks. I'm that $1 in 3 weeks guy for that very point. I'll wait for my money a little longer, but I'll get more money that way, at least on the eBay side. That's how my brain thinks. You don't have to agree with me. It's fine if you don't. It really is. It's your business. Do it how you want. But I just want to give some insight into how I think.
Yeah. And, you have the space. It's kind of your business model. What you do is unique, right? I mean, nobody else does eBay listings like you. So it's like, you got to figure out what you want, what excites you. You love writing up these crazy descriptions for these books. That's like, it's like a passion, right? So you don't mind if you got 1,000 things to listen, even if they take forever to sell. You enjoy the process.
Yeah.
For me, I don't want no parts of that. I'm just like, get it out of here. It is what it is. I'll take my nickel 10 cents and turn it into something else. But especially at scale, and I know he does buy a lot of bulk, the buyback companies can be a huge, benefit to you if you don't want to deal with it. If you already have a lot of moving pieces behind the scenes, and if you want to get your time back, then just have a box set up and then get rid of it once it's full. It's that easy.
I do know a guy in my other group. He does really well with his antique booth, and it's all full of books. He has it like 500 at a time, and these are his non-eBay books that look cool at face value, but they just have no value on eBay itself. And it's also a heavier foot traffic antique mall. It's like one of those that's between 3 different states. It's like one of those borderline.
Yeah.
Also, it gets a lot of traffic. So that was a great play for him. It was the right place, the right venue, and it still gets rid of his quote unquote eBay duds.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, it's tough, right? Because if you're getting them in bulk, then you're really not worried about recuperating as much of your money, right? Because when you pay a nickel, 10 cents, who cares? You get what you get. You're not really worried about, whether or not you can turn that book into profit because you're playing the scale game. You're not playing the single flip game.
Yeah.
So it's definitely has a place in a lot of people's businesses. Personally, I don't use it as much. I just cherry pick eBay, Amazon, Second and Charles, donate. That's my method. I really don't mess with buyback companies that much, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people make decent money doing it. If you're restricted in something, you could get your money back that way, giving it to a buyback company or something like that.
Absolutely.
All right, that's it. It's the end of the line. He wants some more, and maybe next time you'll get more. I'm gonna make everybody put one in.
We need more.
It'll be like a 12-hour podcast episode. As always, we appreciate every single one of you listening. Sorry, members, we don't hide nothing behind the members paywall with these kind of listener questions. So we will see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Resellers Mindset Podcast. Today's full episode and all previous episodes are available to all YouTube members, along with the weekly Zoom call and private Discord. Head on over to youtube.com/theusebookguy and consider joining for as little as $2.99 a month.